Welcome back, everyone. Time to do another comparison this time around between the newly released iPhone 12 Pro Max and the somewhat older iPhone 7 Plus. Now, the 7 Plus came out in 2016, and you can probably pick it up for like around $300. Honestly, probably even cheaper than that. The 12 Pro Max cost around $1099 to pick up brand new. These things aren't really being sold in the used market anymore, or really right now, so you'll have to wait a little bit longer for that to happen. But I'll go ahead and find the cheapest ones of both these, link them down in the description below. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can definitely see that the 12 Pro Max is a bigger phone in pretty much every single dimension. Now, if I go ahead and stack these on top of each other, you might be able to see that in terms of the width, they're actually around the same, but the length is a little bit bigger. Obviously on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, but on the 7 Plus, we have that 5.5-inch IPS Retina panel on it, and for sure, it's actually a pretty decent panel. I'm pretty sure everyone already knows how this panel has been performing. I mean, this phone has been out for 4 years now, and surprisingly, it's really not that bad. The panel itself isn't bad. It's just everything surrounding the panel that's kind of not the best way. I mean, you can look at it now, it definitely is dated, especially compared to something like the 12 Pro Max. This phone looks far more superior and far more premium than the 7 Plus. And I don't think the panel itself is bad. It's just kind of the things surrounding it that make it look dated. Where the iPhone 12 Pro Max, on the other hand, has that 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR OLED panel, and definitely it does look far superior, like I stated before, than the 7 Plus. But on top of pretty much everything else, we do have the new flat sides on the 12 Pro Max as well, which that in and of itself probably make it a better deal in some areas. But I will tell you, kind of feeling both in the hand, I've said this before and I'll say it again, one doesn't really feel like the way better one. Actually, I take that back. The 12 Pro Max definitely feels way more premium, but the way they kind of, feel on the sides, the way they feel in the hand, I kind of like how the 7 Plus, the curved sides are. It makes it feel a little bit easier to hold, even though the 12 Pro Max is a far, premium one in terms of the thickness between them. As you can see, the 12 Pro Max, I think, is the thicker phone for sure. And even if it wasn't, it definitely still feels much thicker because of the curved sides on the 7 Plus. And I think the 7 Plus is the thinner phone. In terms of the back, you can see dual camera setup on the 7 Plus, triple camera setup with a LiDAR sensor on the 12 Pro Max. Aluminum build, I think, for the most part on the 7 Plus. The 12 Pro Max does have that frosted glass back, which makes it feel that much more premium, which is literally one of my favorite things about the new iPhones for sure. Now, they both have IP certification, both have, actually the 12 Pro Max is the only one that has wireless charging, the 7 Plus does not have that, so that's a pretty big difference, I would say, for the most part. But in terms of everything else, I mean, in terms of the outside, the 12 Pro Max is the far better one for sure. You're going to be getting a far better feeling phone and just a far better, more premium phone from the 12 Pro Max than the iPhone 7 Plus. I think the 7 Plus is still okay, but the 12 Pro Max definitely will get you far better results in terms of the premiumness of it. So in terms of the outside, that pretty much covers it. In terms of the software, this is where things are a little bit different. The iPhone 7 Plus, I think, is probably going to get iOS 15, and then it's pretty much done. The 12 Pro Max is going to be getting iOS literally for such a long time. Like, it's just getting started. You can pick up this phone now and not even have to pick up a phone for like 5 or 6 years because this one is still going to be supported. The 7 Plus, on the other hand, is pretty much going to be done extremely soon. So it's not like this one had like a short lifespan. This thing had a really good lifespan too, but it's 4 years old now, so it's not going to be that great. But definitely the 12 Pro Max is going to win in the software, experience for sure. So in terms of software, that covers it up too. Now let's go ahead and do a speed comparison between these two. The iPhone 7 Plus has that Apple A10 Fusion chip inside of it with 3 gigabytes of RAM, the first iPhone with 3 gigs. The iPhone 12 Pro Max, on the other hand, has that Apple A14 Bionic chip inside of it with 6 gigabytes of RAM, so twice the amount of RAM in this phone than this phone. So let's go and see which one is the faster one between both of these. Okay, now that we're back, let me go and clear the apps in the background, and as you can see, they are completely clear. So we'll start loading these things up. Let's do phone calls, 3, 2, 1. And the 12 Pro Max, I think, was far faster there. Let's do the App Store, 3, 2, 1. And the 12 Pro Max is faster. iPhone 7 Plus definitely taking its time, no shame in that. And you can see just scrolling through and everything, it is a far faster. I think it actually smoothness is about the same too. Let's do settings, 3, 2, 1. And even something like that was kind of faster on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which is pretty surprising. Now, as always, I have a bunch of these third-party apps we can go get into. Let's do Facebook, 3, 2, 1. And you can see 12 Pro Max is faster. I guess I was already logged in here, I'm assuming. Let's do Fruit Ninja, 3, 2, 1. And maybe the 12 Pro Max is the faster one, especially when it comes down to getting inside panel. It was so much faster on the 12 Pro Max, and we do eventually get onto the 7 Plus, but far faster on here. Twitter, 3, 2, 1. 12 Pro Max faster. iPhone 7 Plus behind it. Instagram, 3, 2, 1. 12 Pro Max faster, iPhone 7 Plus behind. Let's do Netflix, 3, 2, 1. And again, the 12 Pro Max is faster, iPhone 7 Plus a little bit behind it. Quizlet, 3, 2, 1. 12 Pro Max faster, iPhone 7 Plus right behind it. Dropbox, 3, 2, 1. 12 Pro Max faster, iPhone 7 Plus behind. I feel like I'm going to say that this whole video. Let's go ahead and do Paper IO 2. 3, 2, 1. And the 12 Pro Max was faster indeed, and the iPhone 7 Plus a little bit behind it. Let's get into some gameplay. And that was actually a much smaller difference than I was expecting, to be honest. And I always end up dying like 2 seconds in, but it was probably going to be smoother on the 12 Pro Max. Let's do Real Racing 3, 3, 2, 1. And we did have a weird panel on the 7 Plus. I don't know what to do with that, but the 12 Pro Max ended up, loading up faster in my opinion. As you guys can see, the 7 Plus a little bit behind for sure. And I don't know if I should wait for the rest of the video or not, but I guess we'll wait and see. So I'll probably end up cutting this one, because the 12 Pro Max is so far ahead of the iPhone 7 Plus. It's not even funny. It's pretty embarrassing. Let's do tempo run 2, 3, 2, 1. But these are the differences we want to see. I don't want to bash the 7 Plus too much because these two, this is the newer phone, so I want this one to be faster. I want it to be extremely, noticeably faster than the previous generation. And I'm kind of seeing that for sure. I mean, the 7 Plus was already loaded before, or the iPhone 12 Pro Max was already loaded before the 7 Plus was even loading into that animation of the game, which I think is a pretty intense thing and hitting on both. I think gameplay and graphics and everything are going to look the same, but we're seeing some pretty big differences in terms of the, gameplay and the app animation opening, which is really cool. Let's do BOFA, 3, 2, 1. And again, the 12 Pro Max was the faster one. It did kind of change there a little bit, and the iPhone 7 Plus a little bit behind it. Snake versus blocks, 3, 2, 1. And again, the 12 Pro Max is faster. iPhone 7 Plus behind. Stack, 3, 2, 1. And again, the 12 Pro Max is faster. iPhone 7 Plus a little bit behind it. We go end it off with thank you. 3, 2, 1. And you can see the iPhone 12 Pro Max was the faster one. iPhone 7 Plus is going to be right behind it. Actually, that was a pretty big one. And honestly, what I can tell you is for sure, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is a noticeably better performing phone, and I'm really actually happy to say that. I don't want an older phone to be worse than the newer one, or a newer one being worse than the older one. I want this type of difference between them. So I'm actually really happy to see this type of difference. So for sure, going from an iPhone 7 Plus to the iPhone 12 Pro Max, you're going to be getting faster loading speeds, I'm sure better graphical performance as well, but you're also going to be seeing pretty much better RAM management. I'm pretty much seeing that right now. So these are huge highlights. You're definitely going to be seeing a better performing phone from the iPhone 12 Pro Max than on the iPhone 7 Plus for sure. So that pretty much covers that. Let's go ahead on the cameras. Now on the back, you can see dual camera setup on the 7 Plus, 12 megapixel wide, then 12 megapixel telephoto lens, where the iPhone 12 Pro Max has a 12 megapixel wide, 12 megapixel ultra wide, then 12 megapixel telephoto lens. And as you can see, the iPhone 7 Plus's camera has already been, pretty decent throughout the life cycle of it. And I have already done a camera comparison between these two. I've already actually filmed it. I don't know when it's uploading, so whenever it uploads, it goes for it. But you can still do 4K on this camera. It has that telephoto lens, which I'm really happy about. The first iPhone with a dual camera setup. But the downside is the front camera. You can only do 1080p at 30 on the front. And that may be a big downside to a lot of people, including me. I like a better front-facing camera than the back camera. And for sure, this one has a decent back camera for a 2016 phone, but the front camera is not one of my favorites for sure, especially compared to the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Now, it does have a weird issue where if I focus in on something and I tap to on it, it doesn't focus in properly, which I guess is okay. But the iPhone 12 Pro Max's back camera is extremely good. The front camera is also extremely good. You can do 4K at 60. You have the LiDAR sensor, you have the telephoto lens, the ultra-wide sensor, which the 7 Plus only has that telephoto lens. So I'm telling you the 12 Pro Max is going to be the better camera here for sure. But I'll still tell you, I mean, the 11 Pro Max going to the 12 Pro Max wasn't that big of or crazy of an upgrade. So I will tell you, if you don't want to get the 12 Pro Max, the 11 Pro Max pretty much is going to be just as good as the 12 Pro Max in a lot of ways, including even the front camera. So the 12 Pro Max is far better than the 7 Plus, but the 7 Plus's camera, for some people, is probably still okay too. Now, ending it off with the battery life, you are probably going to be getting way better battery life from the 12 Pro Max than the 7 Plus. The iPhone 7 Plus on iOS 14 just has not been that good right now, which I'm really sad about. I always thought this phone would have pretty decent battery life throughout the life cycle of it. and it hasn't even degraded that much. I think it is around 80%, so it's actually, degraded a lot, but it's dying much sooner on iOS 14 than on iOS 13. So that's another big deal in my opinion too. So in terms of that, that pretty much covers it. And to kind of sum up this video and to answer the question, should you pick up the 12 Pro Max? Should you pick up the iPhone 7 Plus? Well, I'll definitely tell you, if you have an iPhone 7 Plus, I would honestly recommend either upgrading your phone probably sooner than later, but this is still not an ugly phone. It's not a bad phone by any means. I think this phone still has a lot of capability for sure. It's not perfect. The design is one thing that really ages it. But on the bright side, I mean, Apple released the SE2 this year, which also kind of has the same design as this phone, so it's not really too far behind. But there are some things that make this phone probably not the best value per dollar, considering you can get an SE2 for like 400. These phones are around 300, a little bit cheaper than 300 in the used market. Also, the 12 Pro Max and the 11 Pro Max are pretty close in, comparisons too. And I'll probably even tell you, if you have an 11 Pro Max or if you have the 7 Plus, going to the 11 Pro Max would be a really good value. But also, going from an iPhone 7 Plus to an iPhone XR is an extremely good value too, and the XR is still being sold by Apple for $499, less than half the price of the iPhone 12 Pro Max. And that's one thing with the 12 Pro Max, it is the best iPhone right now. You're getting the best cameras, best performance, a way better phone than every other phone that's come before in terms of an iPhone, but it's still not that crazy of a difference from an iPhone 11 or an iPhone XR even. Now, realistically, this phone is far superior than those phones, but for everyday users, I think you're going to be totally fine with those phones compared to this one. I feel like one of the biggest things is subliminally with the way it looks. The 7 Plus looks like an older phone, the 12 Pro Max looks like a newer one. I've already compared the 12 Pro Max and 12 mini and all the other iPhones to the iPhone XR and iPhone 11, and there's very little differences. If you had those phones, I wouldn't upgrade. So I would tell you, if you have an iPhone 7 Plus, going to the 12 Pro Max isn't your only option. I would probably recommend going from an iPhone 7 Plus to an iPhone 11 or iPhone XR or iPhone 11 Pro Max and save yourself a bunch of money rather than getting the 12 Pro Max in my opinion. But the choice is yours. Those are pretty much just my thoughts. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.